What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Team Chat Podcast, a video game show. I am one of your hosts, Jerrett Wilson, joined to my right by Rachel Mogan.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno to you as well this fine evening. How are you doing today?
Yeah, it's not morning, so
It's
really,
not. We're-
buongiorno isn't correct. It would be buonanotte.
Buonanotte.
Yeah, good evening. Or in Japanese, konbanwa.
Konbanwa.
God, I know so many languages.
I know, you're so smart. Oh my God.
smart.
It'd be like me and I've attempted 3 foreign languages in my life.
What 3?
Spanish,
Wait, let me guess. Oh, okay, Spanish.
Spanish.
My second guess is German.
No, my brother did go for German,
okay.
though.
What do I think Jerrett would try? French?
No.
Really?
No.
Huh.
No.
Polish.
No.
I was thinking just because there are a lot
You're
of game
getting closer?
studios based in Poland, so I was
Ooh,
like,
good call.
oh, maybe
But no,
Polish.
you're getting closer.
Well, I already used up my 2 extra
Your lifelines?
so I used German and Polish. Hungarian?
Oh my God, you're shooting all around. I've been to both places.
Russian.
Well, yes,
Really? Okay, damn.
Russian is one.
I was
Is
close,
one of the other
okay.
one. When I just tried to learn it before my dad
So
and I went
Russian
to
and
Ukraine.
Spanish. And the third
Which I learned
one.
after getting to Ukraine because I was a young, dumb teenager. They actually speak a different dialect. Like, it's not one-to-one the same.
It's not
know
your
that.
fault. That's understandable. I mean, even Spanish, it's different everywhere you go.
I just felt like a kind of a dick showing up being like, I've learned your language. I'm like, what is our language? Like, I've learned Russian. No, we actually don't speak
Is
that
it
here.
on the same continent?
It is. Yes. Yeah,
Ooh,
technically,
okay,
yes.
but it's not Spanish or Italian?
No.
Damn, okay, I give up.
Japanese.
Okay, well, how about that?
I gave up very quickly on all 3.
Gotcha.
The gift of multiple languages is not one that has been given to me.
You want some real Japanese real quick?
Yeah.
Mogan Tomoshimasu.
Is your name to
My name is Mogan. Yeah.
Tomoshimasu.
I'm slowly learning a little bit. That's not just from anime, which is very
Nice.
exciting.
Well, we're not here to discuss the various languages that we have learned, or, well, in my case, attempted.
really
in
haven't
your case,
learned.
learned. I mean, you've done better than me. If we're not here to discuss those, well, we are here to talk about video games, the ones we love, the ones we hate, and everything in between. And new episodes of Team Chat Podcast come out on Thursdays, where you can listen to those on podcast services around the World Wide Web, as well as watch a video version of each episode over on our YouTube channel. Links for all that in the description below. You can also find us on social media at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can join our Discord server as well, where we have a lot of great conversation about games and non-gaming related topics when we're not here recording the show. And finally, if you'd like to help make Team Chat Podcast bigger and better, well, you can head over to patreon.com/Team Chat Podcast, just like Super Saiyan Ace, Elise F, Zach S, Mariah S, Susan M, James K, Michael B, Andrew M, Michael S, and Brandon W have done. They've all gone over to patreon.com, where as little as $1 a month, you can support the show, and in return, we'll give you cool perks and access to a private channel on our Discord server, The Rogues Gallery. If you don't want to do that, that's no big deal at all. We totally understand. There are a lot of free ways you can support the show, such as telling your friends, writing us a review, subscribing wherever you listen to or watch the show. But for whether you support the show free or for money, I just love to drag it out and make her sweat.
I know you're really doing it on purpose.
We greatly appreciate and love each and every one of our patrons, viewers, listeners alike.
Oh, thank God.
Emoji.
That was painful.
Audio listeners, I apologize. You're not getting the full effect of this.
You got some
but
good
Mogan
faces
likes
this
to
time.
start the heart like a good 5 minutes early. So whenever she does, I just
exaggeration.
So whenever she does, I like to especially make it drag on just a little bit
Yeah, that was
more.
pretty painful.
So you're just holding it,
Just
waiting for me
holding
to
it.
just say it.
There were some extra good faces in this one.
There were good ones. But yeah, we're here again. Another new episode for you. Nothing really firm on the docket for this episode, I will say.
The thing is, we've got a lot of firm stuff right on the horizon.
Yes.
So I've got a lot of thoughts, very firm thoughts coming about Final Fantasy Theater Rhythm very soon.
Excited to hear about those.
Jarrett's got a lot of firm thoughts about
God of War Ragnarok. I did finish that one recently, and I almost did that for this episode. It just didn't have the time to put my thoughts together how I wanted.
I feel like your game much more so than Theater Rhythm, which is not exactly a
maybe
story-driven
a little more
game.
there to talk about. Yeah, so
yours has a lot more narratively to hit on, whereas Theater Rhythm is like hit button, make music, so fun.
Well, there's your review right there. I feel like that's just a 10 out of 10.
So it's very easy to do. But before we get to any of that, we just kind of wanted to shoot the shit. A good old shoot the
shoot
shit-isode.
the shit-isode. We haven't done one in a while. Catch up on the other things, the smaller things we might be playing. Now that, like, for me especially, having had knocked out God of War Ragnarok, that was my big game from the end of last year that I was still wanting to figure out or finish up. So we got a couple more things that we have been playing currently in progress. And just, whatever, catching up.
Yeah.
Seeing where we are in life.
Really excited to eventually talk about my full review of Final Fantasy Theatrhythm.
Yeah.
Just because it's a series that I never got to enjoy on its original format of the DS. Theatrhythm started
I didn't realize
DS.
this is one that had been around for a while. This is a multiple iterations game.
We'll save most of that conversation for a later date, but it started on the DS, slowly made its way to other consoles. I think... and I will have to fact check myself on this. I think it may have been for PSP at some point, or the PS Vita maybe.
Yeah. Oh, Vita.
Cannot confirm that. Don't at me, people. I don't fucking know. So it may have made its way.
Let's pull my Vita out and see if we can get
let's pull
one of the
your Vita
original theater rhythms on there.
Anyway, so it may or may not have made its way to PS handheld devices, but it definitely made its way to PlayStation 4. Because in addition to being able to purchase Theatrhythm Final Bar Line, the current installment, on the Switch, it's also available for Sony, which I thought was really surprising. I'm surprised that they actually did a dual release that way, especially considering the fact that the original games were only for the handheld Nintendo devices.
Right.
So that was pretty shocking to me. So I'm going to save all of those thoughts, though, for a later time. And instead, I want to...
You have more thoughts on something else?
In the last episode, Jerrett and I did our first impressions of Octopath,
Right.
also known as Octopath Traveler 2, which is also known as Octopath Traveler 2. It's the official name. But we talked about Octopath Traveler 2, and Jerrett had played through a character named Osvald.
The great and mighty cleric.
1. He's not a cleric, he's the scholar.
Sorry, scholar.
The
great and mighty scholar.
Game? I'm just kidding. So I do have a quick clarifying question about that. So in my playthrough, I started with the character Casti.
Okay.
And Osvald was actually my 6th character that I added to my group.
You've already...
So he was really late in the game.
Okay.
I have just now, progress report card, as you will. I have just now added the final character of the 8 to my list, which in my playthrough is Particio. So I started as Casti at the very south of the map, and I went east and then north and then west and then circled back around to the south. So I have just barely gotten Osvald Agnia. I can now confirm her name is pronounced Agnia.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not Anya or any of the other ways that Bravely Default chose to pronounce the name Agnes Agnes, which is what threw me off because I thought they would be really similar, but they're not. So I just got Agnia the dancer, aka the Primrose of this game.
Okay.
She's very different in personality though, which I really like. So I just got Agnia, I just recently got Osvald, and then I also just got Particio.
Nice.
But you started with Osvald.
I started with Osvald.
So my question is, did you finish his chapter 1 or his chapter 1 and 2?
I did too.
Oh, okay.
I finished chapter 1 and 2.
That was an interesting question that I had because he is the only character. If you don't start with him, this might be a mild spoiler for some people, but I don't think so. It's really just a mechanical thing. So if you start with any character that isn't Osvald, he is the only character that you can add to your party whose story condition is that when you trigger his story to start, it requires you to finish his chapter 2 before you can have him rejoin the rest of the party.
Okay.
Which really threw me off because I was like, wait, I have to get through both his chapter 1 and 2.
Chapter 2.
So here's the thing. And this is sort of...
Yeah, I know you had thoughts about Osvald in general.
Yeah, so I have thoughts about Osvald in general, but that also tie into some of the other characters to a very limited extent.
Okay.
So there might be some very light story spoilers for specifically Osvald and Ochette.
Okay.
As of right now. So Ochette, for those of you at home who might be casuals, she's the furry. I know. We all know. Look, we know.
Yeah.
But people are like bragging on Ochette, specifically pro Mogan, bro Mogan in the Discord. He's very anti-Ochette because she's a beastling. She has cute little like wolf/cat ears and a cute little wolf tail. Her whole people do. That's the sort of unique part about her race of people, I guess, that exist in the world of Celestia or whatever the fuck it's called. But the point is, Ochette rules. Osvald fucking sucks. But both of their stories kind of play into one of the things that I've noticed about Octopath Traveler 2 that is very different from Octopath 1. So again, light story spoilers from here on out.
Okay.
So with both Osvald and Ochette, the big departure that I've seen with their storylines is, and this I think will probably be true for other parts of Octopath as well, not every chapter of every character's story ends with a boss battle. And that's pretty shocking.
Okay.
Coming from Octopath Traveler 1, every single chapter of every character's story ends with a big bombastic boss battle for that character.
Right.
In Octopath Traveler 1, they had no overlap with the other characters in the game. Other than that, they were your traveling companions. You would bring them into the boss battle with you. But as far as narrative goes, there was no overlap there. And now I need you to stall while I take a sip to replenish my saliva.
Okay, so no overlap there in those stories and everything like that. So what about it then? Because we actually, before we recorded today, we met up, played some Magic the Gathering, had a couple beers. And while we were talking there, I had like we've established, I did start with Osvald. Mogan played through Osvald's story now. And there was a lot that you wanted to tell me about him.
There was a lot that I had to say about him.
You knew we were going to start recording after we played, so you didn't tell me anything. Yeah. So I've been dying to know.
So I'll wrap up my first thought first, which is, again, I don't want to have a bunch of spoiler bombs in here. So I will just say that Ochette and Osvald, for both of them, their chapter 2s are arguably very short.
Yeah, and I started Osvald's chapter 2, and I was just like, oh my God, I've got another chapter still. But then, it wrapped up.
It was like, so fast.
I was surprised that it started even another chapter because I was like, there's either so much here, or I don't know what they're going to pull to make another full chapter here, or it's just going to be very quick.
So this is something that I'm really not sure where they're going with it, because for any of the characters, actually, I guess... Yeah, I guess that's true. I think Osvald is the only character. Is that true? Osvald might be the only... No, Hikari. So both Hikari and Osvald, I have played both of their chapter 2s. But it's a really interesting comparison to make because I played Hikari's chapter 2 before I even got Osvald, which is my bad on my part.
Yeah.
Quick aside, don't do what I did. I did it wrong, and I have wound up with a really nasty power imbalance as a result of it. Don't go ham just going to chapter 2s because you can. Play through everybody's chapter 1, or in Oswald's case, their chapter 2 first, and then go around to everybody's chapter 2. Because I am in the very unfortunate mechanical position now of Casty is so high level.
Right.
Because she's my permanent party member. And then 3 of my other characters, Temenos, Ochette, Hikari, actually, and Throne, all of them are pretty equal in the mid to upper 20 levels. Everybody else is fucking level 1 through 10. So I have this really bad power imbalance now of I went too fast too soon with the other characters that I was already acquiring. Don't do what I did. Take your time, go around to each individual character, finish their chapter 1, and then spread out to other people's chapter 2s. Except in the case of Osvald.
Okay.
Because he is the only character whose story requires that you finish both his chapter 1 and chapter 2. Which is super strange because the pacing in Octopath Traveler 2's narrative is what I'm realizing is where they've made a lot of changes. Because in ye olden days of Octopus Traveler 1, it would be at least a few hours, maybe 1 or 2, to each individual character's chapter. Their chapter 1, their chapter 2, their chapter 3, their chapter 4. Any given character, if you wanted to max out all 4 of their main stories, would take you at least 15 hours, to say nothing of the other 7 characters, which is how you've got people like me from Octopath Traveler 1 who are at 80 plus hours and only finished 3 characters' full stories. That's how it works. Octopath Traveler 2 has clearly chosen to depart from that formula, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. In fact, I think it's kind of a good thing. In both the case of Osvald and Ochette, I have noticed that their chapter 2s are very, very narrative-based and have very little to do with actual, for lack of a better word, gameplay.
Yeah.
Because, for example, with Osvald's Chapter 2, and this is the same for Ochette, you might have to go to a specific location, and you might have to do XYZ things, either do their day or night path action.
Yeah.
In Osvald's case, it's...
I believe it's day.
His day action is something like inquire.
Yes.
I think his day action is inquire. He can ask other NPCs, tell me about yourself. It's the same as Cassie's, actually. But his night action is hilarious because he's a convicted criminal. Even though he's not actually guilty, he's a convicted criminal, so his night action is mug.
Oh,
you didn't get to that part, did you?
No.
So his night action is that you can fight villagers or NPCs, for lack of a better word, for their items.
I might have mugged like one person.
I think it might be required for his Chapter 2.
I think it is.
But
there was like one very small part,
mugging.
and you like, yeah, it's a light mugging.
It's a light mugging.
Light breaking and injuring. A light mugging. Caked off with a little light murder at the top.
It is incredibly funny.
Yeah.
So Osvald, this is actually something that I feel like we didn't really get to talk about in our first impressions, which is that the day-night cycle in Octopath Traveler 2 is why. I mean, there wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
There was no day-night cycle in Octopath Traveler 1. There is an Octopus Traveler 2, meaning that characters have individual actions for either day or night. In the case of Temenos, it's things like, okay, you can guide characters during the daytime, meaning you can add them to your party and then summon them in battle and they will help fight for you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Lots of characters have
great.
that. But at night, he can do what's called, God, what do they actually call it? I think it is called inquire, but the context is that he's no, it's interrogate. He interrogates people. So you fight people to break their guard and then extract information from them, which in the context of the pseudo-Catholicism that he is related to is thematically incredible. Temenos is rapidly becoming my favorite character, which is hilarious because I actually hate his guts, but narratively speaking, his story seems really strong.
Nice.
So my personal recommendation for anybody that's listening that hasn't already skipped this for all the potential spoilers, start with Temenos. I feel like he's a really fun, interesting character to start with, even if you don't like him as a person. His paths that are before him feel really interesting.
Nice.
I still really like Cassie. I think she's a wonderful character, but if I were to do my Chapter 1s over again, I might start with Temenos and then work my way into some of the other people, because you need a healer at all times. But there are many ways to do healing in games like Octopath.
Sure.
So Temenos or Cassie, doesn't really matter who you start with or even what order you add them into your group. You just need one of them at any given time, really. But Osvald, to circle back to the thing that started it all.
I'm like, I need to know.
Osvald fucking sucks.
He's kind of dumb, right?
I am so torn between either loving Osvald or hating him.
Like I know when I was talking in the first impressions and said the story thing about his like 3 steps that he needs to be able to execute his plan, like bafflingly they are like steps 1, 2, and 3, but yet somehow
really
he has not accomplished them yet.
So,
but like it's so funny to like I don't think I got across how seriously it presents that information and how this is like gospel and how serious the situation is. But like I'm dying laughing the whole time.
And that really is like Osvald in particular, much more so than any other character. He has this massive disconnect between what the game presents to you as. This is Osvald. His story is super serious. His wife and child were murdered. He's very Count of the Monte Cristo, just like we said last time. He's serving a prison sentence for a crime he didn't commit. He knows who wronged him. His goal is to... Harvey. What a name, right?
What a name. Like, which also made me roll my eyes. He's like, Harvey
Weinstein. Anyways, so yes, Harvey is his mortal nemesis. He has to break out of prison to find Harvey to enact his revenge. His story is so Count of the Monte Cristo, it's almost hilarious in its own right. But then his character as a person has these just incredible like logical disconnects of, wait, so he's supposed to be this incredibly accomplished scholar, smartest of the smart. He's figuring out all this breaking news stuff about how magic works.
One true piece of magic.
Trying to find that one true piece of magic. He's clearly not just a magician. He's a scientist. Is how the game presents it to you. Mm-hmm. But then it's like, bitch, you fucking been in this jail for 5 years.
What? That's what I wanted to know. My big question is he's been in there for 5 years.
5 years!
And he's apparently planned it out to where all he needs to know is his escape route, getting warm clothes to survive the cold winter, and an accomplice. What literally else did you figure out in that 5 years?
What did he spend the other 5 years doing that he didn't have any like-minded accomplices?
Or have any ideas at all
about
of what could be an escape route.
Or who could get him things. So his story has...
Which then was so funny that it all fell into place within literally 3 hours.
Exactly. So his whole thing is that his story takes place over what you imagine is a series of days.
Yes.
Because as you find the person who gives you clothes, the accomplice, the person who knows the escape route, there is a day-night cycle implied of Osvald going to sleep in his cell and then waking up the next day. So you're fucking telling me that it took him 3 days to do this, but 5 years
to lay the groundwork
to get to the point of the 3 days.
This is what I'm saying.
It is cognitive dissonance to the nth degree.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
So the comedy is just unavoidable.
Yeah.
I just like you, I could not help but be baffled and amused by his story.
By how seriously they're trying to present him, but like obviously like it's like, did no one think that we maybe should have made him only been there a month?
Yeah. Maybe he's only been there for 12 weeks.
Yeah.
The typical study abroad semester,
Exactly.
which seems more appropriate than the 5 fucking years.
What were you doing, bro? Like, I mean, come on.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no,
so
that
the
killed
whole
me.
thing also about his story is that you mentioned this in your first impressions, that the warden has given him a muzzle because he's a magician. But here's another thing about the narrative that kind of threw me. So he's been there for 5 years, but in the script between Osvald and the warden kind of phrases his taunts at Osvald about the muzzle in such a way that it feels like this just happened yesterday.
No.
And it's like, I feel like
He's been poking the bear with that muzzle.
That's
since
the thing,
day
is
one.
that the way that the script is lining up with what the narrative tells you is true feels disconnected.
Yeah.
So again, that 5-year time period just isn't adding up from a logical standpoint. Now, obviously, this is if you read too much into it. But I feel like
there's not a lot to read into.
That's the thing. Any adult with a fully functioning brain, or even any kid that reads above their grade level is going to be like, wait, what?
Why?
What's happening here?
Yeah.
So it is so funny that Osvald specifically, being the character of the scholar, the learned, the intelligent, has what is arguably the stupidest story so far.
Oh, I'm so glad that he's who I picked for that reason.
You are 2 for 2 on picking the worst character to start with. You picked the toughest or most, I guess, jarring character from Octopath Traveler 1, and then you picked the arguably worst character from Octopath Traveler 2.
What can I say? I know how to pick them. I know how to pick them.
You really do. So you really can pick some weird characters, but my TLDR advice for listeners: fucking don't start with Osvald. Don't do it. He's a bad start to the game, and you will regret having him in your story permanently.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine having to have him in my party all the time. Sure, the scholar is very useful. Being able to deal magic damage to all characters at any time is very helpful for his core elements: fire, ice, and lightning. But he doesn't have, by nature, wind, darkness, or light, which are from the other characters, the merchant, the dancer, and the merchant, the thief, and the cleric in this case. Previously, darkness was held by the dancer Primrose. But so he doesn't have all the elements. I don't think there's a compelling reason to choose him as your permanent party member. I personally would not recommend him for the job. I think he's not up to it.
Yeah.
On the other hand, so his voice actor, whose name I do not know. I did not look it up. I apologize. I'm sure that's stuff I should know. His voice actor has a very deep, intimidating, learned voice, as you would expect for a character like Osvald, at face value, not in actuality. But did you listen very closely to the things that he says in combat?
The only one I can remember is, that was not a part of my calculations. So
that's one of them. The other things he says are so fucking stupid. So when you start any turn, not even combat, when you start any turn with Osvald, do you remember what his catchphrase is?
I don't.
He says, "Thinking time."
Oh, God.
It's so stupid.
I'm intimidated. That's why it took me four tries to beat the warden, because the warden just laughed in his
just laughed in his stupid face. So his opening phrase is "thinking time."
Thinking time. I've got my thinking cap on.
That's really what it is. And then at the end of combat, if you've just defeated somebody with Osvald, his ending catchphrase is, "You should have studied harder."
I do remember that one.
So on the one hand, I think he is a stupid character. I don't like his story. And I think that he's just overall a pretty lame addition to the story so far. On the other hand, I have heard his voice lines enough by now to find them endearing. So now I hear "thinking time" and I just laugh and laugh and laugh. Because I'm like, Osvald.
So fun to have you around with us today.
Card. So I both hate him and kind of am starting to love him. Yeah. But it's not for the right reasons per se. It's more for the fact that he is so absurd within the context of the game and his own story that it's just impossible to take him seriously, which is such a strange condition for a story of his gravity, as opposed to Cyrus from Octopath Traveler 1, who was canonically the scholar. He was extremely smart, very learned, but in the game's own lore, a total dumbass when it came to common sense. Mm-hmm. And that was sort of his crutch. Very, very book smart, absolutely shit outside of the context of a university setting, which the game played into, and everybody loved Cyrus for that. I think that's why I'm finding it so hard to take Osvald seriously, because he's like a reverse Cyrus. He's presenting as extremely learned, but he is in fact so fucking stupid. But the game isn't playing it that way. It's playing it at face value of, you should just accept this. And it's like, no.
But I can't.
But I can't, because you've done a couple of things to really undermine your own character here.
Yeah.
So I think he's very dumb. I frankly don't like him, but also maybe I love him.
Maybe he's your top favorite character of all time.
Very conflicted. The other small thing I want to mention about Octopath Traveler 2, which is just news that I learned from a couple of days ago. I just finished Partitio, The Merchants, Chapter 1. All I want to say about that is, no spoilers, his character theme, best in the game.
Oh, I'll have to go listen to it.
Oh my God. So if you can find Partitio. So Partitio Yellow Wheel. He's the merchant. He's from sort of a pseudo Wild West gold rush town. Ooh. Imagine that as sort of his context. Much like Tressa, whose merchant story was so stupid you had no choice but to love it. Same story beats for Partitio. The thing about Partitio that I love, he's what's the word for it? In Spanish, you would call him a patron, which is like a wealthy landowner.
Oh.
But people feel patriarchal, familial feelings for him. Kind of like a baron. Basically just, he is a person that is in a position of power, but people love him for that because he gives them work. His whole storyline is very much a confusing mix of pro-capitalism and pro-communism.
Yeah.
His story seems like it could go any direction, and I'm really interested to see where it goes. But it's also very stupid, which I love. And Partitio as a character, very stupid. So it works for him. But all this to say, his theme fucking slaps.
I'll have to go listen to it then.
He's the only character with electric guitar.
Ooh.
He's the only character that got electric guitar and the saxophone.
Nice.
In one.
Oh my God, what else could you want?
His theme is so good, I immediately had to go look up where I could buy physical copies of the OST. The official Octopath Traveler 2 CD is sold out through Sony. It is being resold on eBay for no less than $80. It is 6
$80?
discs.
Six
Discs, Jerrett. I'm holding out for a vinyl.
Yeah.
If they release a vinyl, I will pay any quantity of money for it.
That's really cool.
To get his theme, I'll do it, no matter what it takes.
Gamer would maybe do that.
Maybe so.
Maybe I Am 8-Bit. Maybe Mondo.
Everybody keep your eyes and ears peeled. If you see a vinyl of Octopath Traveler 2 come out, let me know, because I'm not kidding about this. I'll pay any money. Whatever it takes.
The song is that good.
It's that good.
All right, I have to listen to it then after we're done.
I almost felt like I should have started with Particio, just because the merchant is such a utilitarian person in the game. And they have so many applications for really good team compositions, but also their stories are so stupid. So it's the trade-off, man.
Yeah.
Do you trade in a stupid story for excellent utility, or do you go the other route and go for all story or bust? So my point is, I'm already about 40 hours.
Damn!
That's not
good.
true. I think I just recently passed the 25-hour mark.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's to finish every character's chapter 1 and one character's chapter 2, and I'm at 25 hours. So that could give you a pretty realistic view of how long do I think the whole game would take.
Yeah. Well, that's not shabby progress that you've made.
It's not. I'm blasting through it.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm in a position right now where I feel unpleasantly overpowered, but that's just because I did it wrong.
Right.
So don't be like me. Again, do everybody's chapter 1 and then move on to their chapters 2, not including Osvald. But yeah, it's a really good game. 10 out of 10 would recommend. I don't know what more I have to do to get people to play this game. I know that some people, it's just not going to be their cup of tea. But if anybody likes JRPGs or turn-based combat in general, you will love Octopath Traveler.
Yeah.
So please play it. Please pay full price for it so that Acquire Studios can know how much you love them. That's what I really want, is to send them a clear message of, yes, we're begging you to make more of these games.
Well, then, yeah, you get the Octopath Traveler 3.
Yeah. In 5 years?
Maybe, yeah.
I think that's about...
Yeah,
because Octopath Traveler 1 came out a few months after the Switch's launch.
Was it only a few months after?
Maybe it was a little bit longer than that. All right, you talk about something else while I look that up, because that's all of my many things to say about Octopath Traveler 2.
Good to know that you're having so much fun in it.
Love it.
Obviously, if you're playing Octopath Traveler 2 as well, let us know what you're thinking about it, which characters you started off with, did you add to your party, do you like Osvald? Let us know.
Do you fucking hate his guts? Do you think his lines are so stupid they're endearing?
That's fun. I had forgotten about this. It's study time.
Oh my god. It's study. It's thinking time.
It's thinking time. That's even worse.
God, he's so stupid.
Studying time would have felt a little bit better. Or even if he would have said, I'm about to take you to school.
That would have made him even better.
That would have been even better, but no.
Oh boy.
Oh well. But
all right.
While you've been
Octopath Traveler 1 came out in 2018.
Okay.
2 years.
So
1 year. When did the Switch come out?
The Switch has been out for a bafflingly long amount of time.
Yeah.
I keep seeing people talking about the new Switch, needing a new Switch model, or what's Switch 2 going to be, and I'm like, we just got the Switch. What are y'all talking about?
That's how I feel about it.
But no, the Switch has been out for 7-ish years now?
Because Octopath Traveler 2 came out in 2018. Excuse me, Octopath Traveler 1 came out in 2018. I think the Switch came out in 2015.
I'm going to have to just do another Google.
Yeah, just do another Google on it. Let's see what we've got here.
We talk about this all the time, but do we know when it came out? No.
Because all I remember is that on March 3 or 4 of a year.
I want to say it was 17.
When it was fucking cold as balls outside. I was at midnight outside of our local GameStop waiting for the Switch to be
March
released.
3rd, 2017.
2017.
So it just had its anniversary of 6 years.
Yeah, it did. Okay, so that's
wow.
That feels like a pretty good amount of time between releases.
Okay, so it's time you can put out a new Switch.
It's been a good amount of time.
Yeah. But speaking of the Switch, I have been playing some stuff on there. Since I did finish God of War Ragnarok, that did throw me into the tizzy of what do I play next? Because originally I was going to have Jedi Survivor this week.
Oh yeah, but then it got
delayed until the end of April. So I've had to think of other things to fill my time. So I've been playing actually a wide variety of different things. I've been playing on the Switch. I did go back and have been playing an older Star Wars game, a Jedi Academy, which I believe is Dark Forces 3, I think.
Ooh,
yes.
What year is that?
It's like 2001-ish.
Gotcha.
It's older.
Wow, so real old.
Yes. Let me give that a look too. Star Wars
The
Jedi.
only reference points I really have for the Star Wars games are approximately when did KOTOR 1 come out. That's my reference point. That's my anchor in stormy seas.
Since I missed those, I cannot.
You know what's funny? The only reason
2003. Okay.
Oh, 2003. The only reason I really have that much hooks into KOTOR is because they've got mobile ports.
Yes.
So whenever I have to write about mobile gaming, those always come up,
right?
One way or another.
So I've been playing that one, and it's been pretty good. I've actually been trying to play 2 older Star Wars games recently. I've been playing this one on the Switch, and I got some good time because we had a trip up to New York recently, and I got to play it on the flight there and made some good progress into it. And it's good. It's you can tell it's an old 2003 game. It's just because it's just been ported.
I mean, at this point, there's no way to get around it.
Yeah, it's
unless
just
there's a remaster.
Yeah,
mere ports.
It's
they're
just
going to
old.
show their age.
And it does mostly in just it's very fun. The lightsaber combat in it feels very antiquated and just kind of you're just chopping at nothing and just hacking and slashing. But it's still you kind of find the flow of it and it gets more fun. You even have some force abilities and powers and stuff like that. But it does switch in between first person, third person because you can use blasters and stuff like that and then switch into lightsabers. But it is just at some point of it, there have been a couple points where it's just run into a wall and I've had to stop out of frustration. It's weird random shit. I was doing this one level that is all about platforming. You're jumping from building to building. So you would want your jump mechanics to be very precise. Not the case. Ooh. I died so many times because I tried to jump from one ledge up to the next ledge up higher. And during the jump, I nudged my character forward a smidge too much, hit the wall, and does a backflip off of it and just dies.
Oh, that sucks. So that's the kind of stuff that would make me have to do a little bit of a rage quit.
A little bit.
If it's my fault, I understand, but I feel that kind of crosses the line of
it did.
Sure, I technically did do a single
when
pixel's
the 5th time it happens,
yeah.
I'm getting a little frustrated.
That would be a little much.
So it's been a fun game though. Still been enjoying it. I think I'm getting close to the end on that one. But then other than that, I did try to play on the PS5 another old Star Wars game that was ported over, Bounty Hunter, where you play as Jango Fett. That one also around the same time period. It was a PS2 game, I believe. But oh my god, still the same thing. It's just so rough. It's hard to play.
Help me out here. When that game came out in 2002?
If it would have been which one, Jedi Academy or Bounty Hunter?
Bounty Hunter.
Bounty Hunter.
I'm really just trying to line up these games with when the prequels released.
This one would have come out about the same amount of time. So 2002, you're right.
Okay, gotcha.
So
I'm really just wondering because I know that obviously the film franchises definitely exert their power onto when the games are released. So I'm trying to think, would people know who Jango Fett was?
Yes, at this point they would have.
Okay.
Gotcha. So I tried playing that one. Same thing. Just the controls were very difficult, and I want to give it another shot, but I honestly might wait for a Switch port. It just felt more natural on the Switch. I feel if I was playing Jedi Academy on the PS5, I'd be getting annoyed with it too. I don't know if that has any real influence on it at all or not, but it's just I was like, oh man, this is a rough older game to try to play, and just even wanting to play it because I've known so much about it as being Star Wars, which is interesting because it just depends on the game. Star Wars Racer, also N64. Time period on that one. That game is amazing, and I did replay it on the Switch recently. Beat the whole thing. I loved it. Loved every minute of it. It's a fantastic racing game. So it's just interesting the hits and the misses that can come up and around it. But so while I was trying to play those also, and those didn't necessarily click as much to be this is the full-time game I'm going to be playing right now. I did experiment with a little bit of trying to replay Jedi Fallen Order before Survivor, but then got into it. I had this one weekend where I did all this gaming. In this one weekend, Sam was out of town, and so I was like, what am I going to be this next thing that I'm going to jump into? And I have the time to really get into it. I spent the whole weekend just trying to figure out what that was going to be.
Oh my God, Jerrett. You're a bad gamer.
I really am. I could not land. I was like
paralyzed by gamer indecision.
Because like Jedi Fallen Order, I was like, I'm playing this. I'm having a lot of fun doing it. But I also know that when Survivor comes out, I'm gonna basically be playing the same game again. A new version, yes, but still the same base game. So I'm like, do I want to be playing this style of game for that long? And I was like, ultimately, no, I don't think so. And so then I've also been playing. I started and been playing a game on my PC called Weird West, which I mentioned it before.
You told me about this.
It's like an isometric RPG, very kind of like in the feels like Diablo-esque, but also kind of feels a little Octopath in that there are 5 characters and you go through their 5 stories throughout the course of this game.
Okay.
I just completed the first character story, Jane Bell, the bounty hunter. I got to complete her story. And it's very interesting because this is a different version of the West that it presents. It's very much it looks the same, but everything about it is way more mystical, I'd say.
Oh, okay.
Like everyone in the game follows this deity called Yeb, I think.
Sure.
There are shapeshifters, wraiths, which I know are like things that are present in like Native American lore.
Wild West with more mythology on top. Okay,
pretty much.
Gotcha.
So like there are werewolves that you'll fight. One of the characters that you actually you might actually play as a werewolf character. One character is a pigman, like a mutant like pigman creature. There's magic. There's all this other stuff. It's a very unique premise. I'm very into it.
I'll go ahead and say if Red Dead Redemption had been like that, I would have given it a try.
I think you would like Weird West.
That sounds
because it
fun.
does play in that where like I finished the first character story. It's setting up a lot of these a lot of these events. Like in this one, in that character story, you have to go. You have to try to rescue your husband from basically a cannibal group who's trying to
eat him, obviously.
Like trying to yes, eat him. But then I'm almost choking, so I'm trying to fight off a cough here. Sorry. I swallowed wrong.
Stifle it.
I'm trying.
Stifle it, Jerrett. Here, I'll stall. I don't know what to talk about.
Yeah,
drink your water. I'll talk about other shit, I guess.
Basically, you come to find out this gang of outlaws who capture your husband are led by a man-eating siren, and everything, and who's setting up this basically cattle trade in quotes, but of people.
I love that.
It's very dark.
How do you join her? How do you join her business venture?
Well, in this one, you're trying to get out of her business venture.
Oh, okay.
But it also is the same thing where it provides branching storylines. You do have choice, an actual choice. How I finished Jane's story, was not, I believe, in how I should have. So that's kind of interesting interesting to see how that's going to affect my story going forward.
So you deviated from air quotes here, the correct path.
Yes,
interesting.
I did. It does have a good old reputation system.
Ooh, I love a good reputation
dishonorable
system.
or honorable.
Nice.
Tons of side quests to go out and do throughout this world, but it's very cool. It has a very graphic novel feel to it. But each area, there's a big, huge world map. Obviously, different towns, areas that you can go explore. But it's presented like you're looking down at the map and your characters are walking. I mean, obviously you are, but it's drawn like a map. You leave an area by going to the map boundary and it looks like a torn map edge. It has like a grid on the side of it. It very much looks like a old style parchmenty leather map drawn on leather, rolled out on a table, and the game events are taking place on it.
I like that.
It's very cool.
That's very cool.
So it has this really neat feel to it. The music's really good too. Like I said, there's a lot more to it that I still have to do because there's still 4 character stories that I haven't gone into yet. But I'm starting the Pigman story next. I'm very curious to see what that's about.
Nice.
But I just think it's a very fun take on the West.
That actually sounds really different than the kinds of games that I usually associate with you as a person. Well, yeah. This sounds more like a me game.
I mean, it kind of is. I mean, in the sense of more of a dedicated RPG in that sense. I mean, I enjoy those games and everything, sure, but I haven't played one like this in a long time.
Well, so I think
which is what I was kind of looking for too. I was kind of wanted something there is a party building aspect to it. You can recruit followers, but it's not so permanent. You can dismiss a follower and hire a new one because it's more like you're hiring mercenaries basically in towns and stuff as you go along. So
that actually sounds so interesting that I might check it out.
It's a Devolver game, another plus.
Everybody loves a good Devolver
everybody loves
game.
that. I want to say it's $20-$30.
Okay, so indie pricing.
Yeah, indie pricing and stuff on that.
Is it only for PC?
No, it is also on I believe it's also on consoles.
Okay. Gotcha.
Maybe not Switch. If it was on Switch, I would say like it would be a fun Switch game because it is also the kind of thing like just with mouse and keyboard and everything. Like there are different types of like aiming mechanic, but you can't. Basically, you have to hold down right click, which aims your weapon and equips it. But then you still have to like hold it to like and move your mouse around because it's again the isometric stuff, and you have like a line that you're like
Kinda
lining
like
up with
Hades,
a reticle.
like lining up certain abilities in Hades. Gotcha. Sephiroth.
So
Hang
yeah,
on to your sword,
actually
buddy.
it behaves a lot like Hades with that, with like directing your attacks and different stuff like that. But then yeah, there's magic potions, different stuff like that you can use. You can upgrade your abilities. It's got bullet time. It's
cool.
Like it's pretty sweet. I've been really again a lot more to still discover with it, but from taking care of the first story, which was not very long. Maybe like 6-ish hours that I did in the first story with doing side quests and stuff like that. It was really funny. Like one of the quests to find, and it's just funny how the reputation system can work. One of my quests and everything that I was doing to get my husband back required me to go to this.
Get my husband back.
Required me to go to this brewery or distillery because they might have information. But basically I go there and they're like, yeah, we could help you. But like, because I'm trying to like play the mayor, this corrupt mayor against them to like find this information. It gets deep. There are layers. And they're like, well, basically you could come here. Yeah, sure. And get this information by killing all of us. You could go back also and like blackmail the mayor to get the information that you need. Here's where you can go find that. Also, and I was like, you know what? You are good, respectable people. I will not murder you all to get this information. I will go try to blackmail the mayor.
Character growth.
And they said, that's great. Also, while we got you here, can we hire you to go like utterly destroy this neighboring distillery? And I was like, you got it.
You got it, buddy. That's awesome.
Just ran in there, just murdered this whole other distillery.
I love that.
It's like they're on paper, neither are good or bad compared to the other. But I was
You're
like,
just picking
you're
sides.
Cool? Fuck you.
I love that. So you just kind of touched on sort of an argument that we've passively been having on the show for many years, which is games that present the facade of choice versus games where choice actually matters.
This one feels like the choice. Where I'm at right now, it feels like the choice actually matters.
Yeah, and
that's
the thing that has me more interested in this game than anything else.
I'm very curious to see like where the choices that I made, because like I will say it feels like a big deviation what I did. So I'm very curious to see if that comes up at all or if it's solely contained to this first story. We'll have to see.
Yeah, that was my sort of, that has always been my interest, like what hinges my interest on games like Disco Elysium, which is still very high on my list to play. It's just I know it's kind of a longer game, so I've been taking more time getting to it.
And I feel like Weird West also falls and feels kind of similar to how Disco Elysium would too, because like everything, even though like, you know, you interact with characters, but everything's through like text, but it's also like Disco Elysium where like the portrait of the character pulls up on the left side of the screen, text bubble, your response is under that, then it's their response comes up under that, so on and so forth. But you know, it's got this, you know, you can find merchants, you can buy different weapons which have various abilities, you can, you know, bend your upgrades and stuff that you get to you know, help you out. You have specific character abilities as well. It's just very. I'm curious to see how much it changes, because I could play the whole game as just the first character and had a ton of fun. So I'm very curious to see where these changes are. Oh, random encounters as you travel. Ooh. It's got a lot. It's great fun. So you know, as long as that doesn't deviate too much from by the time I finish the game, like I would say, yeah, definitely give Weird West a shot. It's very fun.
That sounds really interesting.
But so, in the midst of playing that, I am all over the board.
Jerrett.
And I'm not going to talk about this one because this will require a full-on first impressions / review episode when it goes on. But I did finally decide on the game that I am really trying to land and finish by the time Jedi Survivor comes out, and that is Ghost of Tsushima.
Really?
Yes.
You kept this a secret even from me.
I did. I've been very sneaky
You've really
about
been
it.
burying the
and
lead.
I played like 10 hours in it already.
Wow.
I know.
Good thing I haven't been on PlayStation, I guess. Or are you playing it on Xbox?
No, I'm playing on PlayStation.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
PlayStation
I haven't noticed.
exclusive.
Interesting.
But yeah.
Wow, so you went back to the Sushi Ghost.
I did. I hadn't started it yet, but my buddy Michael, he was like, man, he played it, and I actually wound up talking with Cody the other day too, playing some Apex, and he said I was going to start it, and he was like, "Oh, dude, it's good."
Yeah.
And I will say again, I want to save it for full episode, but
that actually is a game that I would love to circle back to at some point.
It is fun. So it like everything about it, I know it kind of like it's it's a third person like combat heavy game, where you really want to get your combat mechanics down, a la Jedi Fallen Order. I won't deny, but it also feels very early Assassin's Creed-esque in a way. Ooh. And it's just the combat style and like how you navigate the world, how you interact with the world, how you fight. All of it is just clicking, and it's chef's kiss. I'm enjoying it.
Nice.
It's good. It's a good one to come back to that I know that, I'm a couple years behind on. So to get it, I'm like, oh.
Never a bad time to come back to a game that's only 2 to 5 years old.
Yeah.
Because at this point, the quality of all of them is so good that there's really no distinguishing features.
Well, and like because my buddy had let me borrow his he had it on PS4 and he let me borrow that disc. But then when I put the disc in and everything, and I'm greeted with the fact that it's only like $30 on PS5 for the director's cut version.
Oh my God.
I just bought that. And so like it is incredible. And I'm playing it.
It looks really good.
And I know, like it has the Kurosawa mode and everything where it could be like black and white with.
Ooh.
And I chose not to play it that way.
That sounds like a bit much.
It did feel like a little bit much, but I did like do it in like this cinematic mode, Japanese dialogue with English subtitles.
Ooh, okay.
Like,
good choice.
You can choose all this stuff and customize it however you want. It's great. But I will just say, a lot of games, especially more recent, bigger open world games, have really tried to sell the like this is immersive and you forget you're playing a game because this world's so open. This one, I'm not using compass kind of stuff, which it works in an incredible way. I will just say this of how it does the compass. It's by the direction of the wind blowing. There will be gusts of wind, and you follow the wind gusts.
I love that.
That's
awesome.
That's one of the things I actually love about it. I know I keep saying more and more and more, but I will save it for more. But I do love how much this game, like you are guided by nature through it, and it feels so natural. But it is just like everything about this game is like hitting on all cylinders for me. So it is the perfect one for to gear up for Survivor.
That brings up such an interesting point because I actually chose to do a similar thing for Octopath Traveler 2. In Octopath 1, you've got your little HUD with like your little corner compass that always tells you which direction the objective is and where other side objectives are and where hidden objects are. I chose to turn that off in Octopath Traveler 2, and I'm already having a better time.
Nice.
Which just makes me wonder if you had played Breath of the Wild and turned off the HUD, would you have had a different experience?
I don't know. There's a lot of mechanics to that game.
I know that's a whole nother can of worms, but that just kind of is like, it kind of makes an interesting argument for pro HUD versus anti HUD.
I think with this one, I just think it's how they do it.
Yeah.
And because that flows into other ways that the game presents itself. Whereas it's not like, the wind guides you along your path because that's like a very thing. But like I said, how the game is so in tune with nature. Like there are artifacts and stuff you can find around the map. Well, you find those and are led to them. You never like come across so far. You never just like come across where something is buried just by happenstance. You will come across for artifacts, it's a firefly, and you'll just be like going through the forest and you'll see a green firefly, and then you'll be like, oh wait, and you get close to it and it starts trailing off, and you follow it. You find these shrines that will increase your resolve, which is kind of like your stamina or like ability that you can mana in like quotes esque. You find that by following a fox. There's like another one you get by following a bird that's like flying around, and you're just going through your normal thing, and it's not like you get a big ping or even like a heavy. If you come across a fox den, I will say like it will. If you come right to where the fox den is, it will pop up and say fox den, like you discovered a fox den. But the other ones you don't, like the artifact bug and the bird. You don't. So it's very much you're just going around, and then all of a sudden, like this gold bird, you'll just see it like fly in the corner of the screen, and you're like, oh, what's that? And you look at it and you're like, oh, I can go chase this. It's just so natural, and it's just so like free flowing, and how every bit of the game works and is cohesive with other parts of the game. It's just I lost the right word I was trying to say there, but just how it all fits so well together is incredible. So I can't wait to talk about that one more in detail. But
you're really selling me on it.
I'm selling you on two. I sold you on Weird West and Ghost.
That's two. Yeah, 2 for 2. You'll never sell me on Assassin's Creed.
No,
don't bother.
I know. I never will. But no, I've been having. So it's been while I have felt somewhat listless in my gaming direction as of late. getting to try like all these little different experiences has been really fun. And to finally like narrowed in on Ghost and Weird West, I'm pretty dialed into as well too at the same time. Those are some really fun experiences to be having right on top of each other.
Man, I feel like you will probably agree with this. It feels like the start of this year. We're not even done with Q1.
Yeah.
And it is already... I haven't even gotten to play a single hour yet of Metroid Prime Remaster.
So you got that. I would still love to play that one too. In April, I have Advance Wars and also Jedi Survivor. Like, there's so much stuff.
We got Breath of the Wild 2 very alarmingly close on the horizon.
The Horizon Forbidden West DLC.
Which I can't play right now.
I'm sorry again. We'll figure that out. We'll figure it out. Where you get to experience that story as well. A lot of shit.
There's two. This is, I guess, like on paper, maybe we did know that this much stuff was coming out this year.
I feel like I always know on paper, but when it actually comes to when it's time to come out, I'm always like, oh, fuck.
I gotta say that I think the one throwing the wrench into my gears is I wasn't expecting Theater Rhythm Final Bar Line to be as fun as it is, because I keep starting the day with Final Fantasy Theater Rhythm Final Bar Line, and then at the end of the day I'm like, well, now might be some time for Octopath Traveler 2. So just between all these different games, it's like, oh God, where do I put all of my time? Sure. Because there are only so many hours in the day.
That's very true.
We're having very similar problems right now, and I feel like we're not the only ones.
No.
I feel like a lot of other gamers right now are like, fuck.
What do I do? There's so many options I can't choose.
Yeah, so, it's rough out there. It is both great and rough.
It really
is.
is.
Because it's so great.
But yeah, just been playing a whole bunch of stuff across the board. It's been a good time. But honestly, yeah, we would love to hear what you, dear listener or viewer, have been playing as well. So if you would like to share, send us an email, teamchatpodcast@gmail.com. Join our Discord, talk about it with us there. Comment wherever you're listening to or watching the show. We would love to hear from you. But I believe that wraps up what we've been playing lately. Come back next time for another exciting episode where we will be hitting on one of our big topics that we talked about. Either Ghost. I still can't say the damn name.
It's hard to say.
Ghost of Tsushima. Either that, God of War Ragnarok, or more Octopath Traveler, Theater Rhythm, all this good stuff coming up soon.
Yep.
So we would love to hear, obviously, anything that you are playing as well. But until next time, everybody, I am one of your hosts, Jerrett Wilson, joined to my right by Rachel Mogan.
Adios.
We will see you all next time.